Okay then, guys, I'm back from another day at the salt mines, and I'm going to pick away at a few more things on this car, which I'll show you momentarily. But first of all, I don't know what Howard up there at Old Car Alley did to me, but look at my shoes. So this is actually before, this happened way before he did his video on his shoes coming apart. But these are not the nice high quality shoes that he has. These are some of these awful, I'm not going to show you the insides of them, but these are, instead of being Brooks, these are George. It's just like Brooks. Yeah. So anyway, they've done this number, and the bad part about it is these are the tops of them are okay. So I'm going to take, I don't think I have any shoe goo on hand, so I'm going to take some other alternative product and try to glue these back together. I have an idea what I'm going to use. I may use some weather stripping cement, because I bought these shoes because we were talking there about I have that plantar fasciitis, or I have bouts of it, and I have to wear these shoes that have thick insoles, and the shoes themselves are physically light. They make my feet hurt otherwise, which is not related to the plantar stuff. But, I've been wearing these tougher, much higher quality, tougher shoes for a couple weeks, and I can tell it's starting to bother me again because my legs are starting to ache and my feet hurt and stuff. So I've got to fix these and go back to these. So I'm going to do that. I think I have some. Don't mind my toolbox. This toolbox, I would buy a much larger, better toolbox if I wasn't just so shocked and traumatized by how much people want for toolboxes, new and used. A larger one, chest style. I mean, that's an investment. That's the story with this whole, I've been trying to equip my shop. I cleaned it all out. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I've been trying to equip my shop with stuff to work on and with. And just, good Lord, man, you have to take a loan out or sell a body part or something. $600 here, $800 there. Good God. So here's the stuff I'm going to use. I'm going to get this unstuck. It's probably kind of stuck in there, but we'll get it out. So I'm going to do that, and we'll fix them. So that's that. So back to this. So when we last left off here, I was standing in that windshield opening for dramatic effect, I guess. But I continued on another day and went back here and got this rear window out. And this is it. So came out without incident so far. I just have it laying on my moving blanket. And again, I was really just shocked about this. I thought, when I was telling you guys earlier, I said, well, we're going to have all kinds of problems. And I was really prepared for there to be really some nasty stuff going on. And sure enough, again, what I thought was happening was not happening. Now, I could be wrong about this. This corner looks weird here, but I haven't vacuumed this or anything. But just picking at it, it appears mostly solid. I don't know what's up right there. I'm going to pick into that deeper. But first thing, I've got to do a couple things here to tidy up. This package tray cover, I guess it is a package tray. Does anybody ever put packages on one of these anymore? So it's got to come out. So it's got a couple of clips that hold it in, little push pins. And it's no good because you come over here, it has got water on it several times. It's folded up. You can't really see too well, but it's, instead of just being flat, it's messed it all up. So I can tell looking in here that what has been going on with this, looks to me like, is that the water has just went around the seal here. And these seals, this one's a little bit different from the front. The front one doesn't have a fence on it. This is called the fence, as I mentioned earlier. Ow, that's sharp. But it doesn't have a fence on it, but either way, it's still supposed to be bedded in. It's supposed to be sealed in. And I don't know, there's some sort of white stuff here that is mostly adhered. Somebody said it's just the same stuff like glazing compound that goes around house windows, and I guess I can believe that. But whatever was up here on this side of it did not stay in good condition. You see it just flakes off right here. So anyway, but the metal was mostly good. I mean, I don't see holes in anything. It was just leaking down into the trunk that way. I mean, that's a direct access right there into the trunk. So, onto this. So on and so forth. So I got to get that out of there and vacuum all this out. And matter of fact, I don't know. I'm looking at those sail panels over there. Those things, that's a piece of, I guess, I don't know if it's not wood. It's some sort of, we got one here I guess we can look at. Looks to me like a real light kind of wood. I don't know, I wouldn't call it masonite, but it's something that has suffered greatly from water deterioration. So I'm going to have to carefully try to get these out and use them for templates. So I don't think they may sell these for a 2-door, but see, here's the thing about this. I keep interrupting myself, but I think it's something else. The only thing that makes this easier, about working on one of these 4-door Plymouths like this is that the same exact roof line and everything is used on a 2-door, except that on a 2-door, see, they never made a Plymouth up until about 1973. I guess it was 71. Whenever, well, no, it'd be 70, I guess. Whenever they first came out for the Scamp, 70 or 71. The only Plymouth 2-door A-body they had besides a Barracuda was one of these that was like had a long door on it, and then it had a post right here, but it still had the same roof line, so headliners and windows and stuff like that. And maybe they have those sail panels that are affordable. I won't have to make them, but that's what saves this, because there's enough people, I guess, doing 2-door sedans that some of these parts are available. I hadn't really checked into it. But when you can see the remains of the headliner, it's all just destroyed from the heat and water and all that. So that's what I'm going to do this evening. Like I said, I've had a long day. It's already dark, and so I'm not going to do a whole lot this evening, but I'm going to get this tidied up and stuff. This window was actually held in by the seal. It had some butyl, I guess this is, rubber. And the only problem with this is, for somebody that's never done this kind of work before, is that if you go researching this on the internet about how to do this kind of stuff, like take them out, put them in, what to seal them with, you have 5 or 6 different things. I used this, I used that, whatever. So I just figured it out on my own. I'm going to have to buy all these clips. They screw in. When I was making my video, the first video, look how bad that one is. It's just gone. I was making the first video, I said there was some kind of stob, as I call it, stud or something made into this. That was erroneous. And that program I use will not let me add text very well that's visible. I was trying to change the color, so it runs off the side of the screen and stuff. All kinds of crap goes on with it, so it doesn't work very well. So I want to come back and explain that these are all screwed in. There's screws in there, and it's hard to see them. Well, wait a minute. I've got one out, several out. This is what they look like. They screw in just with these little screws, sheet metal screws, so I'm sure all that's readily available. So we'll get it when the time comes, but for now I'm going to clean this up, and then I may or may not start on disassembling the headliner bows, taking them out, numbering them. Because what goes on this headliner, once you get everything, we get floors in and done and everything, and ready to start putting things back together, like I said, the headliner has to go in first, because the issue with that is that the headliner, when you trim your headliner, you need to have enough to get, you have to get around those little hooks that are made into that. This back may have it too. I haven't looked yet, but you have to do that. And then in the meantime, before you even get that far, this residue that's on the inside of the roof right there, This thing originally had insulation pads that were glued in right there. There's one went across right there, and probably one went across right there, and I don't know if there's one up that way, but that's what used to be there. That's why that's got glue residue on it. So I have to come in and get all that sanded down, all that stuff over there on the sides sanded down, and think about what I'm going to do about painting, where it needs paint and stuff. So, a few things to do. So that's coming up. Fun stuff. I think what this is on the floor out there, that stuff that's kind of greasy, it got all over my pants. So that's not pour 15. That is probably undercoating, if I had to guess. So the thing about this stuff, when you, something hanging off of me, like a leaf or something. The thing about this, when you treat something on a car, you need to keep in mind that some things do not block water and moisture infiltration to the metal that's under them. So you can see that stuff up there didn't stop any water intrusion. I mean, it didn't stop any rust at all. So bedliner material is not recommended. You need to just probably use pour 15, some sort of rusty metal paint that you can put several thin coats on, and that should help seal that. And the other thing is, I see a lot of people do, and I'm not a paint expert, but I know this much, is people will have, you ever notice somebody has a spot on their car that's rusting out somewhere, if it's rotted out down here, and then the first thing you see them do is they'll take some generic primer, some of this dollar a can stuff from somewhere, and they'll spray over the outside of it, and that's it. Let me explain something to you guys. Primer, just plain old primer like that, is not waterproof. If you strip the paint off this fender or this hood or something like that down the metal, and you do what 90% of people seem to do, is they do that. They take the paint off of it, and then they take this spray bomb paint primer stuff and they prime it out. Is that what you call it? Prime it out. And they prime all this stuff for this, and man, they just go to town on it. And they leave it for a couple months, and there's rust popping through it all over. It's because that stuff permits water to go through it. You have to use like epoxy primer or maybe like sealer primer or something like that. Do not ever use plain primer on bare metal, ever. You might as well not put anything on it. So I wish people were more educated about that and knew not to do that. But we're not doing anything to the outside of this car. We're just barely gonna, I'm gonna fix these little spots that need to be addressed right here, and that's it. So, all right, guys. Well, enough for this little bit here. I'll bring you back here after a while when I get that all cleaned out back there, and we'll see what that looks like. But until then, hang loose. Okay, so just a simple matter of popping out those two little metal push pin things and prying them out, and I could get this thing out. This is this package shelf, and it's, like I said, it's in poor condition. It's made out of some sort of just a real thin laminate. I don't know what this is actually. Need to look that up. It actually had an edging on it made onto the edge of it, which I guess stayed in there somewhere. Oh, there it is. So that's a nice touch. What do you call that? Little piping, I guess, sort of. But that's that. It's all kind of burned up though. So this thing had an insulation pad under it, and the insulation pad is in terrible condition. Awful. So it's a goner. I can use it for a template if it doesn't come apart too bad. But if you all have watched this channel long enough, you'll know by now I have no qualms of showing you stuff that's gross. So let's look at something that is gross. This is the graveyard of some sort of insects, I guess, that have been down through the years. Some of those insects may be original to the car. I don't know. But they've been in there so long they've sort of burned up. Yuck. All right, so enough of that, guys. I'm going to do some vacuuming and get that all cleaned out. And show you something here also. This is reveals something that this car things this car could have been optioned with, but was not. This car actually could have had rear 6x9 speakers in it. It didn't. They had a. If it did, they would have had a little knob under the dashboard on the left side, or right, left or right of the steering wheel, one or the other. I think it was. Not sure, but anyway, it was a little chrome knob, and it was a fader. And so you could fade in or out it wasn't in the radio, it was in here, in that switch, and you faded in and out the rear speakers. And also, this deal here was for an optional rear defroster, if you can believe that. It was a defroster that was like, what am I trying to say? It was a heated rear window. They didn't have those. It was like the old cars had, which means it had like an electric heater thing back here that blew heated air up. So didn't have one of those either. I'd like to have one if I could find one, but I'm sure it's like everything else like that. Somebody has one, they're going to retire from it. So, all right, see you in a bit. Okay, so it's a beautiful day today. It's not that cold. It's about 55 or so. And it's going to be okay for a couple of days, and then like just about everybody else everywhere in the country, it's going to just turn unbelievably frigid next week. But I've got a short weekend. Again, I'm being called out to Mississippi for my special work that I do. We've got some customers coming on board there, so I have to be on the front lines of that. So I've got to leave again tomorrow about 1 o'clock. Today's Saturday, it'll be Sunday. Got to go out, so out for a few days. But in the meantime, I wanted to proceed onward with this car and get most of the deconstruction done on it. So what that's going to entail is I'm going to get in here, and I think the first thing I'm going to do, got it out here in the sun where it's nice and warm and bright. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire wheel and I'm going to go around this ceiling and get all this glue residue that I can get off of here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I get that cleaned up, and then just work my way down. Then I'm going to come back and go across these floors here. And but you know what? I'm really kind of thinking that I may not do that. I may just go ahead and cut these floors. I know I'm going to cut the floors today because this is what I want to do. I want to get everything out of here that needs to come out as far as rust and junky metal. And I was hoping I wouldn't have to do the rear pans, but I'm going to have to do the rear pans. You can see there's holes in them, and where there's not holes in them, they're thin, about paper thin. So I think I can just get away with, well, I can't get away with anything. I'm just going to have to cut them out and replace them. So that's where we're at. So we're going to do that, and I'll get on with that and I'll bring you back. I got these, before I sign off of this, I got those sail panels out that I was telling you about. I think I told you about those things on the side here, and they're not in good shape. They are some sort of press board or something like that. I think that's, or 1/8 inch hard board or something they call it. So they're just glued in, and then they got a little, I ripped it out, but it's got like a little tack or a brad or thing, some sort of a thing that's in the C pillar back there, I guess you call it, that holds this in. So these can be remade. They don't sell them for this car. I didn't think they did, but they don't sell them, so I'll just remake these. They came out in one piece, thankfully. And of course I have to remake this thing too, I think. But that's okay, it's not a problem. The materials are not that expensive to do that. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna get out my wire wheel and go to town on this thing. And then after that, I believe the chronology will be to see if I can manage to weld floor pans back in it. I'm trying to try. Why not? Heck, what are you gonna do? Break it? So I was just pleased to see that these channels up here were in much better condition than I thought they were. I thought we had bad problems here, but evidently that old bedding glazing compound that they used to set the gasket in just didn't hold up. So, oh well, moving on. So All right. Yeah. Let's see. I need you. Yep. My high-end electrical tools. And you. Leave. Whoops. I have a lifelong hatred of cords. Did I ever tell you that? Sure do. Okay. Height. Let's get busy. Okay, I struggled my way through getting these things out of here. Let me just go around the back and we'll look up towards the front and keep me out of the light there. So, again, I'm a complete amateur at this stuff, so these cuts are not very pretty. I'm still getting used to this tool. I'm using one of these little 3-inch, 4-inch cut off, I think it's whatever, 3.5-inch cut off tools, and it works pretty well if you don't hurry it. But it just takes some getting used to getting it to go where you want it to go and that kind of stuff. So I'll clean all these cuts up, of course. And this up here, this side, there was some kind of interesting things going on that I had to deal with. One is that fuel line that comes through. I had to make sure not to cut into that. And then that floor pan is actually spot welded to that cross member as I expected it to be. So I had to cut all of it out that I could get out, and then I had to come back with a chisel and sort of chisel it off if it was pretty weak, and then I had to take my big grinder and just grind it down and get the spot welds ground down and get the rest of it out of there. And then it had a piece of a patch that was up there somebody had bolted in up toward the front. It's got a little kick out right up there. I don't know if you can see that, it's in the dark, but where it had a rotted spot, I had to go up a little higher than what I was planning to. And then I got the rear one done here right by me, and you can see I changed my mind on my cuts and all that, so I'll go back and weld that up and make sure that's nice and solid. It's just, like I said, I'm getting used to that tool, and I'm developing my technique on that, so it's not, so these first couple aren't going to be very pretty. And again, this one had something else going, a couple things going on that sort of made it where I had to alter my plan as I went. I think what I'm going to do next on those two over there is I'm going to jack the car up so I can see under there easier, because I kept having to look under here and make sure I wasn't cutting into something I didn't want to. And here's a good example. This is, I can't get down there, but you guys can. That's the front end of the subframe. And so I didn't want to cut through that, of course. So I didn't. So I brought my cut in front of it, and probably what I'll do is I'm probably just going to leave that rear. I'm probably going to go ahead and just cut that out. But I have to grind down the spot welds and get that just removed off of that. And then over here, you got the fuel line is here again. So I sure like this phone. It sure gets right in there, doesn't it? So anyway, that's the deal. And that rear pan wasn't awful, but it's just got little pinholes all through it. So it's coming out. It did come out. It is out. So I did that, and just went around this inner roof here with a wire wheel and just scuffed it up pretty good, got any excess material off of there, the glue and stuff. I didn't try to take it all down to bare metal because it's not necessary. We got nice and smooth, and then start working on those B pillars a little bit where they had some rust on them, and the door over there, same with it. So just kind of wanted to go ahead and hit that a little bit. But we'll get that other floor pan out. Probably won't be this weekend, unfortunately, but hopefully this next weekend I can jump back on that and get those two cut out of there and get the welds, or rather the cuts, cleaned up and that kind of thing. I'm going to treat those spaces there. Those cross members, they're in excellent shape. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not, even for all the water that was in the floor, they didn't hurt those. That's good. So we'll go in and either, I'm going to probably fluid film them. Something like that. And we'll do that, and then I have got to go get a tank, welding tank, and I have to get my welder set up, and then I have to make a whole bunch of bad welds and sort of get some practice in, and then we'll start trying to tack these things in. We'll get them in there. They may not be pretty, but they'll be in there. And I don't know yet whether I'm going to just put reproduction floor pans that somebody sells in here, or I'm going to just form some metal up and put in there some sheet metal, because, you know, it's got these little ribs in them. And I guess that adds strength. I guess really they need to be like that because your feet is on them, and that kind of stiffens them. So I'm leaning towards just going ahead and putting in reproductions, but I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Some of y'all have done this before. You tell me if just regular old good heavy gauge sheet metal would work, or should we go with factory style? Because you're not going to see this. The main thing for me is to make sure that it's rust proofed and solid and tight and all that. Looks don't much care about it. Rooks either. All right, guys. Well, I am going to get cleaned up, and then I'm going to go for a drive before it gets dark. So I will see you on the next one. I'm going to end this up here. And I sure thank you for watching and joining me with this. It's kind of a something you don't see every day around, people working on a 4-door Plymouth like this. But I like it, and I think a lot of y'all like it too. So I'm glad to have you here with me. So we'll see you on another one, and stay tuned. I got one of those little funny little video clips here at the end. So have a good one, everybody. See you. Got a smoker. Yeah, dude, you know what? You're doing exactly the right thing. Just keep driving it. When it runs out of transmission fluid, then you can stop. Yeah, okay. Seen on the interstate.